Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice right here, the previous session, we got our new FOMC key levels here. FOMC statement, rate decision released here. You see movement to the upside, not only into the report, but after the report as well. 4230 is that FOMC key level. The other FOMC key levels are posted in the description below. The first move to the upside right now, one thing to keep an eye on, how does price respond here above the previous session's high and the previous week's high? We have now seen the ES just now push through the previous week's high of 4290, and we're just above that zone at the moment. Any failure in rotation could bring you back into the range below. But for the most part, right now, the edge is going to be very important. If it starts push through 4290, it starts to open up a bit more upside up above. This is a counter trend bounce, so you've seen we've been trending mostly downward. Counter trend bounce like this here, so we could come up here, find some sort of resistance and start to work back down within the range. If this thing starts to push through the previous quarter's close price, it starts to open up higher prices into the next resistance above 4430 would be that next upside target. So right now showing quite a bit of strength here early on. Keep an eye on 4290. Taking a look here at the NQ. Very similar strength here. This one approaching the previous week's high price right now. The previous week's high is 948. We're at 934, so about 15 points off that level. 15K just above. Previous session with a big squeeze here as well. 14,605.75 is the FOMC key level, and you can see how prices broke through the top of that narrow range to the upside and back above the 14.6 level. If this thing can continue to find acceptance here or find acceptance through the previous week's high, it could open up a continuation toward 15.4 up above. We have had a continued downtrending market overall, and we're now coming into the previous week's high price. So again, coming into the previous week's high in a downtrend can tend to be an area where some resistance is seen, so keep an eye on the previous week's high. Looking at crude oil, right now crude oil up about 0.75%. You'll notice right here though, quite a bit of back and forth. The previous session here, this is crude oil here. You can see the previous session with the big rally up. It actually took out the previous session's high, barely, and then dropped all the way back down. This thing went all the way up, then all the way back down to be an outside day down. Eventually closed inside the range. Today here, you're seeing the initial return into 82s be smacked down, and inside range narrow day, 44% of average with a very clear downward trend. So the previous session we were watching 81.5 as a level here to watch for rejection. It had rallied tremendously off that level early on, and we mentioned any pullback toward that level could still be defended, and instead a major failed new high develops and a drop back down. It further demonstrates the weakness of this trend and that bears have the upper hand at the moment. Key range low is still here, 81.51. If we're going to break to the downside, it opens up 78s as the next target below. Keep an eye on 78s. If this thing starts to give up 82 further, we could be looking at a move back down. So right now, still stuck at the 81.51 key range low. Looking at gold futures here, gold up about 0.5%, but still range bound. We talked yesterday and over the last couple of weeks of how this market could be mostly range bound between 1960 and 2020. That's about a 60-point range right there, and we're right at the center of that 60-point range. 1990s, we could come up here and fall back in, we could drop here and rally back up and stay inside the range. So right now likely to continue to stay range bound after recent strength has taken us back to the 2000 level. Looking lastly here at the YM. The YM about the strongest of the bunch here. Big time rejection of the 32,800 level. We talked about that rejection here. Now stretching away from that level. Any pullback could be a higher low that takes us higher up the range. 34,305 would be the next upside target in that scenario. We're still trending down, still have downward trending qualities here, and we are just above the previous week's high. So again, if we're going to start to see some weakness here or fail back below the previous week's highs, that could open up another lower high that leads to a rotation back down. As of right now, the short-term trend remains up, the medium-term trend remains down, and we're testing the previous week's highs basically across the board. The ES, NQ, YM, and also RTY rather, all testing the previous week's highs right now. Key levels to watch as we head into the rest of the session. All right, that is it for today. We'll see how this plays out here as we head into the rest of the day. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.